everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And feel free to check me out on Patreon, where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook, as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope this is one of your activities that you get to do today with maybe a loved one. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for this. I love doing flowers, and I just thought that this bouquet was so pretty with the soft pastel colors, and I thought it was perfect for today. So yeah, let's go ahead and go over some supplies, and then we'll get right to painting, okay? So let's just start off with the canvas. The canvas is an 11 by 14 stretched canvas, which means I have tops, bottoms, and sides. So I will be wrapping the canvas, which is just another word for painting the sides of the canvas. If you're a patron today, please make sure to go and pick up the traceable, so you have a little bit of guidance if you prefer that. If you're not a patron, you can join today for $5. It's $5 for the entire month, and you will have access to literally every single traceable I've ever posted for any of my live classes. So please go over there. You can support me over there, as well as get this for you. This started off as just a thank you gift for my patrons, but then it slowly started to become something that people wanted, so I started kind of advertising a little bit more. So if you would like a traceable for this class, for any of my classes, it's in the lowest tier, the $5 tier, and again, you'll have access to everything. I won't be using one today because, like nature and things of that matter, I feel like I'm a little bit more free to create my own interpretation of this reference. But if you're someone who feels like you need a little bit more guidance, then the traceable is for you. I always like to say that the traceable is not cheating. It is just another tool that we use as artists. Just like a ruler or a pencil or a paintbrush or anything like that. It's a tool that we use to make things easier, and to make the whole process more enjoyable. So if you're like me and you enjoy using traceables, maybe you don't have the time to draw things, it's not cheating. It's just another tool, and who's gonna stop you? So yeah, feel free to go and grab that. I'll post a link down below, as well as in the description, and it will probably be in most of the posts that I make on YouTube and Facebook about this this class, okay? And you can always post down below if you can't find it, and I will comment and give you the link, okay? Let's go ahead and go over brushes. Brushes, we will be using a couple different ones. Let me go over my go-tos, and then I'll go over a couple extra ones that I have for today, just in case I want to use them. So I have my medium to large filbert. I have a small filbert, and then I also have my texture brush. I use this all the time for so many different things, but I don't know if I'll be using it this time, but I always like to have it on hand because you never know when you're going to need to use a texture brush, and you don't want to ruin your other brushes while doing so. And then I have two small round brushes. One's a little bit pointed, one's a little bit round. I use them for different things. And then I also have a liner brush. All of the materials that I use today are in my Amazon shop. So please, if you would like to use any of these specific supplies, feel free to go on my Amazon shop and you can order straight from there. But yeah, and if you can't find something, maybe something's out of stock or something and you want advice on what to do, I can also help you with that. Things that are not on my usual class list are going to be a large round brush. This is going to be really helpful for doing all of those leaves, and I'll show you why a little bit later. But we used to use these in face painting all the time. You just barely touch it, and then you push down and it widens the brush, and then when you lift off, it comes back to a point, and you can make these really pretty like one stroke leaves, and it's a super quick, super fast process, and it's really, really easy. So please make sure that you have a large round brush. It'll make the process so much easier. You can do it with other brushes, obviously, but my preference is a large round brush because it makes it so much quicker and it makes it easy. And then some other things that you might want to have on hand. You'll notice there's a lot of like really cool textured like grassy type stuff on the top. Now obviously all of the stuff in here is optional. If you have a favorite flower, a favorite color, a theme that you want to go off, maybe you're painting something for a nursery and you want to go with those colors, feel free to change anything in this painting. This is a reference that we're using. We don't have to paint it exactly like it. I'm going to add some flowers over here. I might add a couple up on top, like you never know. This is your painting and you can choose what to do it. That being said, I have a couple brushes on hand onto the side that I'm not really sure what I'll use, but I want to have them close by just in case. I have this old brush that I really like to use for either texture or stippling. You can see that it's pretty old and it frays out, but I use that to my advantage. So don't get rid of your old brushes. When your old brushes get stiff, or they fray out, you can use those. You can use those instead of buying other brushes specifically made for those things. I use this all the time for like grassy things or stippling or trees. And then I also have a hog bristle fan brush in case I want to add some texture as well. I don't know which brush I'll use. I like to use both of them for different things. But something to note about this one is I am using a hog bristle brush, and that means that it's not soft like these nylon ones. The nylon ones are super soft, super light, and they get weighed down and clumped together when you put heavy paint and water on them. So just keep that in mind, that if you have a soft bristled brush and not a stiff one, it's going to be different than the one that I'm using. And again, all of the supplies that I have and that I'm using are in my Amazon shop, and you can go over there and grab what you need. I have 2 things of water. I have a paper towel, a palette knife, and guys, this is, again, I think I mentioned this last week. This is one of my favorite palette knives that I've ever had, and it's amazing. So if you're still using one of those small ones with the little pots, do yourself justice. Treat yourself. Go get a palette that is a flat glass palette, and pick yourself up a palette knife so you can make all your colors first and then just have fun painting, because that is what we are going to be doing today. Okay, so hopefully that is pretty much it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Let's go over some colors, and then we'll get to painting. I have my black, brown, and white off a screen because I have those. I use those colors probably the most, so I have them in larger containers. And I promised my patrons in my last class that I would explain my paints a little bit more in depth, because I use Hippie Crafter acrylics for like all of my paintings. And one, they are an amazing company. They've gifted me so much paint, and I literally, the only paint that I've bought in the last like 2 years has been white. And they even gifted me last year a giant bottle of white. I'm still working on last year's, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before, on black. I have not had to buy paint, and I paint multiple times a week. So shout out to Hippie Crafter. I love them as a company. I love their paints, and they're super nice. So yeah, go buy that. I have like coupon codes and stuff in, but that's not why I'm promoting them. I love their stuff. But that being said, I want to point out that they come in these bottles. This is not your craft paint, the kind of the more liquid stuff that you find at Hobby Lobby and the other craft stores. This isn't soft body. This is full body acrylic paint. So don't get confused if your paint is not as thick as mine. This is not craft acrylics. It's full body acrylics. So just keep that in mind. It's just that's the bottle that it comes in. It comes in this really cool kit of like, I think that's 20 colors. And I've been working off of these paints I've been using them for like 2 or 3 years, and they're great. So, yeah, anyways, I promised my patrons I would explain that, because some people don't know, and they're using the soft body acrylics, the craft paint, thinking that it's the same stuff that I'm using because it's in the bottles, but it's not. It's not the same. So yeah, I'm using professional acrylic paint. But yeah, the colors that I will be using today, kind of a little bit of a rainbow, even though most of the colors that we're using, we're going to be changing and making it dull and pastel. We still have a lot of colors that we're using. So I have my black, white, and brown off screen because I have larger bottles of those. And then I have my green, my yellow, and my phthalo blue. So this is a bright green, and I'll mention I really enjoy using the bright green. It's technically pale green, but it's not pale at all. It's very bright, and I like starting off with this as the base because then I can really change it to whatever color I want. Like a hooker's green is already going to be that kind of dark foresty green. Your other colors, they're already tainted. They're already different colors. This one starts off so bright, and I can make it a yellow green, I can make it a brown, I can make it a blue, and I feel like it's really starting with the base color, and it's really bright, and I can like keep it that bright if I want it to. So I really enjoy using this color. And then I have probably a cadmium yellow, it's a medium yellow, and then a phthalo blue. Other colors you're going to want to have on hand is I do have a rose pink, and then I have a violet. Something to note, like this looks black, look how dark that is. It's a very dark color. If you have a lavender that you want to use, do that. Use what you have. You don't have to buy specific colors to follow this class. I will be making a lavender with this color. I will be using barely anything because it's very dark. I'll just be mixing it with white, and then I'll get my lavender. But I didn't feel like going through my pile of colors to find the lavender, so I'm just going to use this one, and I'm going to lighten it up with my white. So yeah, those are the colors. Just to go over that again, I have my white, my raw umber, which is my brown, my black, and I'm using Mars Black, and then I also have my phthalo blue, my pale green, my yellow, my rose pink, and then my violet. Those are the colors I will be using today. So yeah, that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I will be in the comments. Please make sure to throw out your questions. I'll be writing down any questions, any answers to your questions that you may have during the class. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I have a ton of paintings to show you guys because it's a new month, and we have a bunch of Patreon classes, but we're going to do that after we get in the base coat, so we'll do that while it's drying, okay? So I will go over Patreon classes and what we did last week, 2 weeks ago, but we'll do that when it's all ready. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to do the background. We're going to do the whole background. Now, if you did do a traceable, theoretically, you should still be able to see your traceable underneath this base coat. This base coat is going to be white, so if you drew hard enough, and you can really see your pencil markings, you'll be able to see it. If not, you might want to pause the video or just as I'm talking, just kind of maybe go over it a little bit harder so that you'll be able to see through it. You can also go over it with a black acrylic marker, or maybe like a brown or gray acrylic marker, maybe not black, so that you can make sure that you can see it through the background color. But for everybody else who has not used a traceable and we're just winging it, you're trusting my ability to teach you as we go. Let's go ahead and get out our white and our black. And I think the background has just like the slightest bit of either maybe a bluish color. I feel like you could do blue or brown, or you could just leave it just plain gray. It's up to you. I tend to like to add a blue or a brown to my grays just because I feel like it gives it a little bit of color. But it's totally up to you what you would like to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put a tiny bit of black, and then I'm just going to grab this color, get a good amount of white, because this is going to cover up the entire painting. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to mix together. Where's my palette knife? I'm going to use my palette knife, and I think I'm going to go blue. I'm going to do blue today. So just the tiniest bit, because there's already like greens and kind of blue hues in everything anyways, in the purple, in the green, and I think also kind of in this white over here, there's like slight blue hues. So I think this will work nicely. So I'm going to make the lighter color first and then the darker color, because if you hadn't noticed, there is a slight gradient going on. So it goes light into dark. So we're going to make two colors, and two, not four, two. We're going to make two colors, and one's going to be a little bit lighter. So we're going to do the lighter one first, and then if you end up going too dark, you can just section that out and then add a little bit more white to it. So if you want to put a little bit of white off to the side, so you, just in case. So start off with just a tiny bit of black. It'll change the color of your white fairly quick. So always start with less than you think you'll need. You can always add more. You can't really take it out unless you add more white, obviously. And if you don't know if it's dark enough, try putting it up next to your canvas, because sometimes it's hard to tell how dark something is, because for me, this white, this gray is next to a dark gray, and it looks like it hasn't even changed. But I know that as soon as I put it over here, it's like, oh, that's actually probably the color that I need. So I'm going to take some of this. So I have my light color, and I'm going to move this over here and add a tiny bit more black and like the tiniest bit of blue. I think I'm gonna go even darker. See how I'm adding the tiniest bit each time, just slowly darkening it. Okay, I think that is perfect. And because we're going pretty much white on white, and we're going gray on white, we shouldn't need to do a second coat. But I want you to be open to doing a second coat. I think one of the things that beginners have the hardest time understanding is that sometimes we go into a painting thinking that it's only going to take one coat. And then when things start not going the way we think, we're like, why is this not working? Why can't I see my strokes? Like, it doesn't look the way I want it to. Instead of being, you know what, I'm just gonna do a second coat, let it dry, do a second coat. We try to keep fidgeting with it and try to fix it, when in reality, it just needs more paint. It needs another layer of stuff. So theoretically, this shouldn't need another layer, but try to be open to that. Don't be so stuck on, I'm only going to do one coat, that you end up not doing what your painting needs. So keep that in mind when we're doing this. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off my palette knife because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to grab my largest brush. So this is my large filbert brush. I'm gonna put it in the water just to kind of break it up and dry it off, just so it gets water in all of the creases. And now we are going to start from the lightest corner to the darkest corner. And the first thing I'm going to do is do the top, because y'all know it's out of sight, out of mind for me. And I'm going to do this side too. And I'm not going to do this whole side until I've gotten kind of down a little further, because this is kind of where I hold it and I don't want to get paint all over my hands. I've done that before and I'm like, why did I paint that? That's the side that I can see, so I'll remember to do that side. All right, so the main part of this is we're just trying to get that paint on the canvas. And I find this process fairly quick, especially when we're using a color like this. You can see it, but sometimes when you can't see the color, I like to put it up to the light, and you can see. Let's see if I can get it right here. You can kind of see that. That's what I look for when I'm painting white on white. I look to make sure that it's all painted, and I can see. In terms of like painting white on white, that's actually what I see most of the time. I have to like come over here to see it head on, because I often will just see my the reflection, and I'm like, what color am I painting? But when I'm painting white, it's actually very, very helpful. Okay, so we have a good majority of this painted. Once you get a good majority of it painted, you're going to want to go over the whole thing. Big, long strokes. And this is to make sure that all your paint is like a good solid line. And that there's no clumps. All right, I've gone down most of this section, so now I'm gonna come back over here with the dark color. And I'm gonna do the bottom first. And you're just going to work that up. And as you come up, I'm going to start going back into the lighter color. Just working that. Going all the way across. And one thing I love about blending together is like you can really be like fairly textured in this if you want. Or you can go across the whole thing and make it really smooth. So I could leave it like this if I wanted to. but I'm actually gonna go over the bottom, and then I'm gonna go over just the whole thing. So watch this. You can see all these strokes, right? You can see all these strokes. And I'm gonna bring this dark color up a little bit farther. Okay, that's about what I want. So now I'm gonna start from the bottom corner, and I'm gonna long strokes. And the more you go over something, the more blended it's going to be. You're not going to see a whole bunch of this side. Anyways. And I'm okay if it's not perfectly smooth. Kind of gives the wall some texture. All right, so that's the background. We do need to wait until this fully dries before we move on. So if you would like to go get a blow dryer, you can do that. If you're watching this at a later date and not live, then you can do that, or you can just wait with me. While this dries, we are going to go ahead and create all of our other colors while this dries. But before we do that, I want to go over what we did last month and into this month. So 2 weeks ago, we did this lovely little horse. And this is a free class, might I add. This is a free class that we did. It's on my YouTube. You can go paint it. I'm still kind of in a wintry mood, at least in January, but I love winter, and I love all the colors that it brings. So this one was a lot of fun. So please go paint it. It's a free class on YouTube, just like this one. And if you did join Patreon for my traceable, you will also have access to that traceable as well. Also in Patreon, these next two paintings are what we did last month. We also did this cute little fox. This tutorial is a part of the magenta tier, so it's $10. And you get you get an extra tutorial exclusive to Patreon. You also sometimes get to help choose what we paint in Patreon. So this is a Arctic winter fox. So that one is exclusive to Patreon. And something that my patrons got to choose, help me choose, was this one. And dun 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 dun. I don't know if I showed you guys the finished result last painting. I don't know if I was done then. But here is the finished artwork that we did in the cobalt tier. So in the cobalt tier, it's actually really fun because we get to paint weekly with each other. We get to paint weekly, and we get to work on a painting that's maybe a little bit more in depth, a little bit more in detail. So I think we worked like 4 or 5 hours on this painting. Well, this one, did we do it in 3? We might have done it in 3 sessions, so it's probably closer to 3.5 or 4. But yeah, I love the luminous lighting of it all. But yeah, my patrons got to help pick that one, like choose what we painted. I think I had like 4 or 5 different options, and they chose that one. So yeah, if you're in Patreon, you get to help choose what we paint in Patreon. For this month though, I have a couple paintings to share with you. One is our monthly tutorial for the magenta tier. Again, that's the $10 tier. We painted this pretty rainbow parrot. It's an Australian parrot. I think it's like a lorikeet. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, we painted this one. I love how it came out. And the leaves are actually really, really fun to do. Ironically, there's a lot of them, but it was fun to do. And then we had lots of fun with the all the feathers and stuff. But yeah, if you're into birds and painting animals, that was a lot of fun. And then again, for this one, this is in the cobalt here. So you're seeing a work in progress here. So we are not done with this one. This one, we are working in progress. We've done 2 sessions for this painting. The first one, we worked on just a lot of the base coating on the sky. And then yesterday, I believe we painted, all the days mixed together. Yesterday we painted, we did a lot of the reflection, and we finished up the bottom part. We'll probably still do a little bit of detail, but next week we're going to be doing a lot of the water detail and finishing up the kayak. So I'm really excited for this one. So if you like boat scenes or water, or maybe you've never done reflections before, this has been a fun one to do. And one of the things I love about the cobalt classes the most is that they're super relaxed. They're only about an hour. I try to keep them as close to an hour as I can, and part of it is teaching you guys how to paint in little bits so that you don't get discouraged and then never pick up the brush again to paint it. Because how many of you have paintings in your closet that are unfinished because either you lost motivation or you didn't, like, you were lost in how to pick it back up again? Part of those classes is teaching you where to stop so that you can pick it back up and be excited. So I'm really excited to continue this because I get to start on the water, create new colors, start on the water, and start getting all that detail in. If I would have stopped in the middle of, doing the green, then I'm like, okay, well, now I have to remix the green or remix the brown or whatever. But being able to start back up in a new section is really important. And part of those cobalt classes is teaching how to do a painting over the course of 4 or 5 sessions, and still being, motivated to keep going and not lose that. So those have been really, really fun. And that specific painting was a request from one of my cobalts. So if you're in a cobalt class, if you're in my cobalt, please send me your suggestions. I love being able to help you guys paint your own paintings, and especially if it's a really cool picture that I can teach others too. It's a win-win. Okay, this is almost. Okay, so while the rest of that dries, it is still a little bit wet, at least on the bottom for mine. So while the rest of that dries, let's go ahead and create our colors of our green, because that is what we're going to be doing next. Okie dokie. I'm going to grab my green, my blue, and I have my black already out. I'm just going to put my green right here because that's where I'm going to mix it. So blue, actually I already have blue and black out, so I'm going to get out some green, some brown. Sorry, my brain. Whatever color this is, my brown. Just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to use my palette knife again. If you don't have a palette knife, go get one. Not for painting. You don't have to paint with it. You never have to paint with it. But being able to pre-mix your colors with a palette knife saves you on paint. It doesn't ruin your brushes, and it keeps your water clean. You don't end up having to clean out your brushes multiple times before you even start painting, which is super helpful. Okay, so I have my green, my bright green. Again, if you have a different color, feel free to use that one. Totally fine. I'm going to put in some black, tiny bit of brown, and a little bit of this blue, and just mix that all together. should come out with a kind of an earthy green. And I want mine fairly blue. It's a pretty bluey green, so I'm gonna add more of this blue and a little bit more black. So we want it darker. Okay, I'm gonna get some more black out, and we're gonna take this color. I have a pretty medium to dark green, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm gonna split it into 3, and I'm gonna add black to one, and then I'm going to add white to the other. I'm gonna do the white one first. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more green here. Alright, I added black, and I'm thinking I need a little bit more color, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it. So that it's not so gray. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take one of my small brushes. I'm going to grab some of this white, and we're gonna figure out where this little vase is, this cup, this vase. And I'm gonna say it's kind of in the middle of the right side. So if this is our middle line, it's kind of like in the middle of that. And it's about yay big. Again, it doesn't have to be the exact same. And you can always go bigger. So try to go smaller than you think. And you can always make it bigger. Mine's either the perfect size or possibly a little bit bigger than the example, but that's okay. Look at me not taking my own advice. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I'm giving advice based off of the mistake that I just made. So I'm like, oh, make it smaller than you think, because I just made it bigger and failed. But no, mine's fine. I think that this is a fine size. Okay, so I'm just gonna look at this straight on so I can get my lines correct. And that top line is slightly, curved, so it dips down just a little bit. And I'm just going to put my first coat of white on here. It doesn't have to be thick. It can be a little bit see-through. That's fine. We're not going to be putting in the whole thing until practically after we're done with the green, just in case we come into it. And when I say into it, like when we're putting in our green, we don't want to have a really pretty vase and then have to like redo it. So we're gonna wait. But now that I know where my vase is, I can now put in some greenery. And if you need to put it on the side to really make sure that everything is flat, you can do that. Right. There we go. That's my little vase. Rinse out my brush. Okay, now we reach the fun part. We get to put in all of our greenery, and don't be worried about where the flowers are. If you did put in the traceable, you can avoid the parts where you know that the flower is, but I would encourage to go in that circle just a little bit, so that you can come back with all of the petals. But we're gonna just have fun and put in a bunch of greenery. We're gonna start with this darkest color. It's pretty much green all the way up. And you can kind of figure out the general area of everything. Like you want everything kind of coming out this way. And I'm using my large filbert for this. All right, so that's pretty much the base. When you get to the top, you can kind of do a little more, like not stippling, but I'm turning it to the side and like it's almost just giving it a little bit more like a leaf texture. My brush was doing something fun, so I just kind of kept going. If your brush is doing something fun, keep doing it. So what this is doing is I have it this way, and I'm just kind of poking it up, and it's creating this kind of like fuzzy, furry. I had initially planned on doing that with a different brush, but that worked out really, really well, and I like it. I'm just gonna have that one kind of bend down. And I might not even see that one, but I don't know. These look cool. I think I'm gonna stop there with that one specifically. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch to a smaller brush now. I'm gonna rinse out my brush. I think that's kind of all I can do with that big of a brush. Again, I was not intending to do that cool texture. It's just I was playing with my brush and that's what happened. That's what happens. Now I know that this brush can do that effect. So I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. It's always fun when you find your brushes can do certain things. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Okay, so now I'm going to take my round brush. This is the one I intended on doing for all of the like the little like leaves. So I'm going to get it wet, kind of brush it off, and I'm going to grab some of this green, the dark green. I'm still using the dark green, and I'm just going to put in some leaves. And again, I'm touching, pushing, and then pulling while lifting up. And that's adding that leaf kind of color. You can add a couple of those down here. See how fun this is? And they can come really from any direction. We're just adding greenery at this point. I'm gonna grab a liner brush and dip it in water and grab one of these greens. You can add the different little, there's one in here that kind of looks like balls. So I'm just going to put little nubs on the end of it. If your paint is not coming off of your brush very easily, try just mixing more water with it. I'm going to add a bunch of lines. Sometimes they're not really going anywhere, they're just adding to the busyness of the bouquet, making it fuller. Do a couple more leaves. All right, that I think is good for now. I'm gonna go ahead and with this lighter color, I'm gonna actually make it even lighter. It needs to be even lighter because I put in a couple lighter spots and you can barely even see it. Part of that was because I was mixing in with it, but we want to be able to see. Okay, so I'm going to, with this lighter color, create a couple other stems. You can kind of see them branching out a little bit. You might not be able to see all the in-depth little things, but so I'm just kind of putting some lines in certain areas. Maybe their stems are kind of poking through, catching some light, and then going back in. All right, it's pretty good. So I'm gonna take this same green and use my round brush that I was using before to create some lighter ones. And it's okay if you can't fully see the entire leaf. Maybe it curves back in and then you can't see the rest. It seems like there's more lighter ones over here poking through. Just gonna put some lighter sections up here. Maybe some of the leaves over here are catching the light and they're a little bit lighter. All right, I think this is a great base to start with for all of our greenery. I'm going in with my gray, and anywhere where I feel like I covered up too much of the background, you can go in and manually kind of put in some of those spaces if you want. Only if you want. Okay. Now that that is done, we can do the fun part and add in all of our flowers. So first we're going to figure out where all of our flowers are. So I'm gonna grab some of this white over here, just add a little bit of water to it. And I have one, it's kind of pointing the other way. And the first part of this is going to be putting them in with white. So this is about where this pink one is. And actually I feel like this one can be with pink, simply because we're going over the background. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pink on my brush, mostly so I can just kind of see where it is. Here's the circle. And I feel like it could probably be a bit wider. So I'm just gonna go a little bit bigger. And I'm just using this brush to create all of those petals. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of a darker pink to do the middle section. And just based on where my flower petals are, mine is facing a little bit of a different direction. Mine's kind of facing up a little bit. And you might be like, how can you tell? Well, if you think about a flower you know is round, but as soon as it starts looking any other direction, you are only going to see it. If you're just looking at this plainly, it's now a oval, it's facing that direction. So mine I feel like mine is facing like almost straight but kind of up, versus this one is facing kind of down. So I'm just, based on how I did my petals, I feel like mine is kind of facing that direction. So try to keep that in mind when you are doing the petals. Try to figure out, try to do, like if you need to, put your hands in a circle, and it's like, okay, I need to do it this direction. So for instance here, let me show you. This one is kind of facing up. So if it's facing up, then the oval is going to be a little bit squished, but if it's facing center, it's only going to be squished this way and not turned, right? So if this is the middle section, right? That's the middle section. Then all of these are going to be coming in, and then the top and bottom one are going to be shorter because of perspective. See that? See how it's kind of like facing up now? Because I've squished the circle. So for instance, for this one, not only is it squished, but it's also turned. So if this is my one right here, . the top and the bottom one. But it's also to the side. There's one right here in the back that's, you can only see it from the side. This one right here is kind of disassembled a little bit. I'm gonna pull this yellow one in just a little bit because I want to see it more. I'm gonna put another pink one right here, but I'm gonna make it kind of look that direction. So that's oval, which means everything here is going to look the same, but as I come around this side, it's going to be shorter. All right. So that's going to be our first coat. We'll need to put a second coat over anything that went over the green. So like this over here. And then while all of that dries, because that's a lot of paint on there, while all that dries, we're going to go ahead and do this bottom section. This is the only one down here that I feel like I need to do a second coat right here, right now. Everything else, I think I need to wait. Okay. I think I'm going to take a flat brush. I know I didn't initially say this, but I'm going to do a flat brush so that I can get these sides. And I'm going to start with the white on this side. And then I'm going to do the white on this side as well. And then as you've gotten all that white on there, you're going to take a little bit of this gray and you're just going to blend it in. And you'll be able to do this fairly simply because it is all wet. You just take it all the way over. And just pull it straight down. Go in with my white just a little bit here on the end. And the more you go over something, the more it blends. So if you need it to blend, just keep going down. All right, and that's pretty much it for the bottom part. If you wanted to, you could add blue to that section, but I decided not to. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and create the different colors that I want to use. So the pink and the violet, the lavender color. I'm gonna grab my lavender that looks like black, like literally can't tell a difference. You can't tell a difference when you're just looking at it. It's not until you add color to it, like a white, that you're like, oh, that's not black. So I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of purple. Alright, here's my purple color. I'm going to do the same with the pink. Alright, and I'm just going to use the same brush that I've been using to put in another coat. This time we're using all the pink and the purple, and we will be able to add our white to this. And kind of our shading on these colors in a little bit. Layers, guys. Layers are important. Okay, so this one still isn't dry, so I'll need to wait on that one. Those are the only pinks. This one over here, I ended up doing a yellow, which I forgot to create. So I'm gonna get out my yellow, and I'm going to add white. And then I'm also gonna add a little bit of brown to some of it. So I'm going to add white to it. A tiny bit of this brown. That was probably too much. Okay, so here's the lighter color. Let's add a little bit of brown to this one. And that's for like the back color. The part of the inside of the flower that is in the shade. So I'm going to do that one first. And then slowly start moving to the lighter color. Alright, I'm going to get out just a little bit of black so we can kind of just figure out where everything is in here. It's kind of like tucked in behind it all. Alright, I'm going to move on to my purple. I'm just going to add that extra layer of purple on all of my purple ones. Alright, again, I'm just adding this purple to all of the purple flowers that I created. Excuse me. The irony of me sneezing right now and me painting flowers is hilarious. Oh, I don't know why I'm all of a sudden like super allergic-y. Oh. Okay. What to do next? Okay, I like how this is all going. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this yellow and mix it with some brown so I can get that kind of yellowish center. From a lot of these, and I'm going to go ahead and switch to a smaller brush so I can be a little bit more intentional. Alright, and then the one over here is a lot brighter. So I'm switching over to a brighter color. And while these are still a little bit wet, I'm gonna roll my brush in the brown, and I'm just gonna kind of create some darker spots. You can do this by dabbing your brush on the side that is darker. So the darker side is on the right side. So if your stamen is in that's the middle part, if it's in the dark, then the whole thing's gonna be darker. And you can come across with a lighter yellow and stipple the left side of it if it's in the light, and it should blend in with that that brown that you've already put on there. Alright, I'm going to make a darker purple. I'm gonna start to add in the shadowed parts of the of these ones. So essentially, you're just gonna try to figure out which ones are in the shade, which ones are in the not the sun, but just the light. You can always come back in and blend some. I'm gonna go ahead and just put in some lines on this one. Just more of just detail rather than highlight or low light or shadow. because we'll come in and put the other side to that. I'm gonna put in some lines. And when I mean lines, I mean like, you know, those little lines in each petal. Just giving a little bit of detail, and this will also help you shade a little bit. We're just adding little bits of detail. Just trying to think about where the shadow would be in this. You can always come back over with some light and add a little bit more detail. I think for this yellow one, I need to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to go a little bit darker for this one. Alright, gonna add a little bit of light to the tops of these. And then I'm gonna go even darker in the middle with that brown. All right, let's go ahead and do these pink ones. I think I'm going to keep them pink on the edges because I think my background isn't as dark as theirs, so the white just kind of, you lose the edge of it. But let's do a little bit of this pink. I'll do like an intersection. Like another layer. I think this one's not going to be as bright because maybe it's not in the sun. It's not in the light as much. Maybe it's a little bit darker. I'm going to go ahead and stipple around the edge. And you can see that that's starting to appear. Go a little bit darker on this side. So I'm kind of stippling around the whole outside. Trying to be, I'm going to go back in and stipple with the light. And I'm just stippling with that same brush. If you want to stipple with a like a stiffer brush, that's totally fine. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to stipple with the smaller brush now. Alright, I think that's good for that. I'm going to go ahead and take a small brush with this lighter yellow and put it in the center of it with some of this darker brownish yellow on the left side to create that the whatchamacallit, the inside of it. All right. And that is pretty much it. I think I'm gonna add a couple more lighter greens. So I'm gonna add this yellow to this green to make it a little bit brighter and a little bit more vibrant. A little bit more green. And I'm going to add this to some of these brighter ones that I was trying to make lighter. And then you're gonna create the top for that. And then any other details that you want to add. All right. That, I think that's it. I'm gonna do just a couple more little tiny ones with my my liner brush. But that is going to be the end of our class. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful, absolutely wonderful Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for joining me. And regardless of when you're painting this, I hope that you go onto my Facebook, where you can post your version of this painting in an album. And it's almost like at the end of a paint night where we all get together and we show our paintings and we get to take a picture together. That's kind of what this is supposed to be. So if you painted this with me, go over to my Facebook page, just look up Samantha Anderson Artist Community and you should find it. You can search for this specific painting and you can add yours to that album, and then everybody else can see it too. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you in a couple weeks, and then I will have my kayak painting all finished so you can see it. If you would like to keep up with current updates for future classes, exclusive classes, or my work in progresses, please head over to Facebook. That's where I post about 95% of all of my content is over on Facebook, and that's where you can also share the events. You can easily share events over there and just kind of keep up to date. So thank you so much for joining me. We will see you next time, and yeah, we'll see you then. Bye, guys.